Welcome back to Living Out Loud. I'm Susan Karp, the Executive Director of the Arlington Council on Aging. It's been a couple of weeks since we filmed, but I have the pleasure of in my company, Mark Waxmonski, our nurse. And Mark, you're here today to talk about medicine?
Using medication safely.
Using it safely.
Yes. So I should ask you first, off the top of your head, do you know the exact number of medications that someone who's over 60 may take, the average number across the United States?
I believe it's either 2 or 4. I used to be up on that.
I was thinking 9.
9?
9 is the closer number. So as we age, as we have more chronic diseases that are treated with various medicines, over-the-counter products, obviously medications that are prescribed and other even stuff off the counter, the number is actually at 9. So as the number increases in the medications that you take, if that number increases, that can predispose you to risk to certain other things because of a whole host of different interactions and other safety concerns. So thought it'd be prudent to discuss how to use medication safely, especially our population in Arlington as it's older, and managing chronic diseases and managing medications is important to their health.
Well, and I think managing your medications, if you're taking 9 and have a $20 copay per, that could lead to a vacation if you led your life a little bit differently before you got to that point.
Sure.
There you go.
Right, and so it's never too late to practice prevention, healthy lifestyles, and preventing by exercising, eating right, healthy sleep, and meeting with your doctor regularly and being assessed.
Well, there you go.
So I think it's important to clarify what are medications and drugs. So again, medications can often be referred to as prescriptions, over-the-counter, pills, liquids, creams, vitamins, eye drops, even dietary supplements. And so, if we're going to the store or buying things off the counter, we have regular medications that our doctor prescribes us.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to let our doctor know what we're taking that we get from the various stores and within the community.
So that 9 that you were referring to could include the prescription from the doctor as well as, so for example, I use Restasis for my eyes, so that's a prescription.
Correct.
I also have to supplement it with natural tears or some other eye drop, so then that would be...
That's considered a medication.
Right, so I do too.
You do too.
Good
job. Great.
1 plus 1.
And as you age, you and your medicines, it's important to be mindful of the different changes that take place. So you may have more conditions that require treatment, which increases the number of medications you take. The use of more medication and normal body changes increases different various interactions, which we'll talk about in a second. And again, as we age, our body's ability to metabolize those medications, excrete those medications, absorb those medications changes. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we converse today.
All right.
Any thoughts about that?
I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Just because I know that some of the things that you'll be addressing today. So, for example, when you're taking the medication, medications are coming from different sources. So we say the doctor. They're not necessarily coming from the primary care. You could have a medication from your primary care. You could have a medication from your cardiologist. You could have medication from your endocrinologist, your hematologist.
Right.
So you have all of these, and who really knows what you're taking?
Right.
Because we oftentimes forget when we get to the doctor's office, oh yeah, I went to the endocrinologist and they changed, my meds. Or, and you might use 2 different pharmacies. And so those records don't come in together.
Right. So as we're using our medication safely, communication is an important piece. As you see these specialists who prescribe, change medications, obviously important to let your PCP know as well, just in case for whatever reason there's interactions, what have you, and maybe you were meeting with the doctor and you weren't able to accurately describe what you take, the amount you take, why you're taking it, and that provider never made the decision to incorporate that into their treatment modality. So
aren't all my doctors supposed to know what the other doctor's doing? I mean, isn't there a way that all this record is connected?
In an ideal world, yes. When you go to the hospital and then you go to a rehab or nursing home or thereafter and you get back to the community, the hospital, the rehab is supposed to send records to your doctor's office to incorporate medication changes that have happened and other assessment pieces and stuff related to your health.
So you use that word supposed to.
Supposed to.
Supposed
Doesn't
to.
always happen.
So, all right, so that's something that we have to be mindful of as we have our different doctors. We get a prescription. The other doctor might not know about it. Not a bad idea to throw everything in a brown bag and go to your doctor and say, this is all that I have, or write it down. God forbid if we should do that.
Or you can always go to your pharmacy. If you're using a number of different pharmacies, just ask for a printout of the medications you take and literally just take it to the doctor's office.
And that's a really important key to remember. You can go to your pharmacy, even if you have mail-in pharmacies, mail order pharmacies, mail-in, mail order, mail.
Female pharmacies are great too.
Great, thank you very much. But really, you can get copies of that record, and it's really important to keep that very handy.
Yep.
Right.
So again, to be mindful of using medication safely, the important part, especially if we're taking a lot of different medications, is drug interactions. So there's drug interactions. So when medicines interact with each other and cause some adverse effect or sometimes a beneficial effect. Drug condition interactions, when your medical condition makes you or the drug's potentially harmful. So for example, you take a medication that's can be damaging to the kidney, but you're already in kidney failure. It can make that medication not work as effectively and can cause other issues. Drug-food interactions, so when drugs react with different foods and drinks. Calcium and other calcium-related foods can sometimes interact with medications. Where it's poorly absorbed, you're not getting the benefit of that medication. So key point there is to ask your doctor, ask your pharmacist if the drugs you're taking interact with anything else that you may be taking as well. And then drug-alcohol interactions, when the medicine you take reacts with alcohol. It's important to know that many medications obviously do not mix with alcohol. It can be very damaging to your kidneys and liver if you take select medications in addition to alcohol as well. So
the decision tree in that point is that take your medicine, give up the alcohol, don't take the alcohol and give up your medicine.
Or ask your doctor what's an appropriate amount of alcohol, when to take it, that type thing. And one of the things that's commonplace in media and our healthcare system in general, and taking medications are side effects. Have you ever heard of anyone complain about side effects?
Yes.
Like what?
It could cause dizziness. It could cause, I think stomach upset is probably one of the biggest things that I hear. And so instead of talking to the doctor, I would say that more than likely many people will reduce that medication, which is then causing a problem. And any side effect really should be reported to the doctor.
Yep.
Not at your next visit, which might be 3 months or 6 months down the line, but right away.
There's a caveat to that, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, all right. So I was thinking belly upset is probably the one thing that, or dry mouth, depending on what it is, and people don't like that feeling and they would rather.
And so there's a balance between the side effects you're experiencing and the beneficial effect as well. So if you have dry mouth and you've tried 100 other different medications for blood pressure that have been ineffective, but this one medication is effective and it's causing a little bit dry mouth, what's the risk versus benefit of continuing to take that medication? Something you have a conversation with your doctor, but your doctor would ultimately recommend that you continue to take it despite the unpleasant feeling of the dry mouth. So what is a side effect? A side effect is an unplanned symptom or feeling you have when you take a medication. Some side effects are not serious and actually go away on their own as you continue to take the medication. Your body adjusts to the medication and the side effect itself and can go away.
Okay.
Other side effects are bothersome and may be serious. Again, your doctor, your pharmacist know what are the serious side effects for the certain medications that you may take. So you need to know about the medicine you take to help prevent potential problems, obviously, with that medication. So understanding the medication you're taking, the name of the medication, the dosage, why you're taking it, and the important side effects to be mindful of. Okay. Keep track of the symptoms of the side effects. So if you start a medication, you notice some side effects initially, they wane, everything's great, but then you start feeling a different type of symptom, journaling that change, and then communicating that to your provider.
Okay.
Sometimes with antidepressant medications, other mood stabilizing medications, those later side effects can occur more readily than some other types.
Right, and I'll even say, just to interject here, some medications, for example, when you're treating mental illness, depressions, anxiety, the anxiety meds, typically you're having that immediate response to that medication.
Depends.
Okay, depends, but more times than not, there is some relief provided more immediate until you get the dosage adjusted. Antidepressants, on the other hand, can take weeks. So you want to take that medication, you want a response, you're not getting a response, you're like, I'm not going to take it because I'm not getting the response. And that's the piece that I find very interesting, that some medications really do take not just a few days or a few weeks, but it can take weeks and even months, as well as even adjusting the dosage.
Right. So antidepressant medications, other mood stabilizing medications, it's kind of its own world in itself in terms of monitoring its effect, if it's effective. And you're right, it can take several months. It could take sometimes years with different trial adjustments of medications. And so that one you need to have special patience with to take. So, but all falls in line with just kind of medication monitoring in general.
Okay.
So obviously call your doctor right away if you have some type of unwanted side effect, something adverse that you know is something wrong because of the medication you take. Never hesitate to make that phone call. Did you have any other questions about side effects?
Nobody likes them. Nobody likes them.
It's actually not true, but.
Well, from my own experience, if there's a side effect, I probably would default that this is not meant for my body, and I would just put it down. So
I understand.
The reason I bring some of these things up is that.
Well, I've heard saying, "Oh, I like the side effects," even though it's.
Oh, okay, I get it. I get it.
For certain medications.
Yeah, for certain medications.
We'll move beyond that.
I'm not sure you feel that way if, on a blood pressure medicine or a diuretic.
Yep.
A diuretic, well, you have an immediate response.
Typically. When to talk to your healthcare professionals about the medications and the different variables therein.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
You're going to talk to them when there is a noticeable change that seems negative. Did I get that right?
What about a change that's positive?
You can wait till your next visit, unless they want to know from you in 10 days.
And they might. And they may tell you explicitly, let me know how it's going,
All
get
right.
your blood pressure checked at the Council on Aging or in the community to see the response.
Okay.
Right. Would you tell your doctor if you've had any changes in eating habits?
Probably. If I were ravenous all of a sudden, or if I had yes, I would.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Or if you started consuming a different type of food more than you had done prior to taking the medication.
Yes.
You feel like that's important?
Yes.
We think of Coumadin because of, Coumadin's a blood thinner given for individuals to help prevent clotting. And Coumadin, the antidote for Coumadin is vitamin K, so it reverses the effect.
Okay.
Vitamin K is in a lot of fruits and veggies, well, not fruits, but mostly veggies. So if you're noticing an increase in vegetable intake, important to let your doctor know and meet with a dietitian to continue getting the vegetables, but also having the therapeutic effect of Coumadin. So that's one example of a food that can interact with the medication. There's a certain antidepressant class as well, a class of medications that you can have to avoid certain types of foods, but thankfully those medications aren't used as readily, so just seeing it in the community is quite rare. But there are some medications as well, grapefruits with certain types of blood pressure medication you can't have, and other examples as well. So if you're noticing intake in those things, talk to your doctor.
So are you saying that the medication that you're taking can create a different type of food yearning? I mean, you use the example of grapefruit, but I mean, if you're taking your blood pressure pill, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start craving grapefruit.
Right. So it's more so of if you're taking a blood pressure pill, you've always enjoyed grapefruit, you've never told your doctor, for whatever reason, you've never heard your doctor say or your pharmacist say, stop eating grapefruit or grapefruit juices. That's
so we're back to communicating.
We're back to communicating.
Communicating being the expressive, being able to ask and talk, and then the other one is to listen to what the doctor's saying.
Right. And to adhere to the recommendation.
Okay.
It can be very, very impactful, especially in that example with toxic kidneys, toxic liver.
Who would have thought grapefruit would have had so much conversation?
There's an enzyme in it that can interact with
There you go.
various medications. So keeping track of your medications as well. So lists, we talked about lists before.
Yep.
To take to different providers if you're seeing different specialists, just to continue that communication, because again, we shouldn't assume it happens in our ideal world. It's also good to keep track of a list of medications. So for example, if you're having an emergent event and the fire department personnel, ambulance personnel are asking for a list of medications, having those handy so that they know what you take. So if they were to give you something, it wouldn't interact.
Yep.
And very helpful for those folks in the ER department to know what you're taking to continue your health management.
Even in your glove box of your car.
That's
Not a bad idea.
it's an ideal
Or
place.
did I just steal your next line?
No, you didn't.
All right, good.
And obviously, so keeping your medications safe, so out of the reach of children and other folks who may have nefarious intent with your medications. So keep them secure. And then, keep track of your medication changes with a journal and a log, which we kind of talked about before. So taking them safely, obviously follow your directions, use the right amounts, don't use too little, don't use too much unless as directed by your doctor. I know that can be challenging for some folks, especially if financing the medications is a challenge. Some folks may take less, they may take half a dose to preserve the amount they have.
Right.
To not discontinue it completely because they can't afford their medications. And there are programs out there for seniors to take advantage of who could help supplement the cost of paying for those medications.
And so, Mark, who would they call?
So there's actually, they can call the Council on Aging because we do have referrals to different types of
Great answer.
resources like that. They can ask their pharmacy. Sometimes you can call the manufacturer of the medication who have discount programs as well with certain eligibility requirements.
Yeah.
But that's something that Council on Aging staff can help facilitate.
Right. So, at the Council on Aging, we do have SHINE counselors, and SHINE stands for Senior Health Insurance Needs for Everyone. That's a free service that we offer. So we have 3 SHINE counselors that come in each week. We also have an information referral specialist that she can also help you. So think of us, think of us and give us a call when it comes to those kinds of questions.
Right. So continuing with taking medications safely, have you ever heard of anyone sharing their medications?
Oh, yes.
So it kind of gets back to one of someone saying, hey, give me XYZ of the medication you have to help me with something.
Right.
And also, maybe if you're short for a day and your prescription's not going to be filled till tomorrow and you really need to take a medication, still not a good idea to ask a neighbor who takes the same exact thing, quote unquote, to give to you, because there's obviously mix-up that can happen with that medication, the dosage, and sometimes if someone has a brand name versus generic brand of the medication, it can cause a different response in your body. So,
all right, well, I'd like to put a little spin on the sharing of medication. So right now you're using the example of sharing amongst friends, colleagues, whatever. What about the sharing of medication that you've been given a medication for a particular ailment? So let's say it's a pain reliever for, say you had knee replacement. So you got the good stuff going there because that's pretty painful, and and then you still have it on the shelf in your bathroom. And then your shoulder starts hurting. Well, so sharing being it was designated for your knee replacement, and now you're sharing your medication with your shoulder pain. So you've got that issue as well. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that type of sharing that you don't want to do.
Sure. So
don't take your medication.
Right. So that's the point of you've had one issue, it's been treated, you don't necessarily need to take that pain medication anymore. Do you have a new pain? Now you're using that pain medication to treat that pain. Probably not a good idea as well, because different pain can be indicative of different things, and different pain medication can treat that different type of pain. So
right, and when you're always treating yourself with the medication that was meant for something else, that actually then could lead to an addiction.
Be further harm, right?
Yeah.
Well, of that example, it's addiction, but also further harm as well. So for example, of the opiate class, you take that medication for knee, you want to use it for shoulder, but the shoulder pain is more inflammatory than it is anything else, and a different class of medication could treat that inflammation pain as opposed to kind of that hardcore pain. And conversely, the other way around, bleeding issues related to different types of pain medications that wouldn't be effective and could be more adverse than helping for that specific pain ailment. So that's a good point of not saving your medications for future events.
Right.
And so, again, we talked about cutting the cost of medications, working with the discounted resources that are available. Again, contact the Council on Aging for that. So that pretty much sums it up of the main points to using medication safely. Obviously, talking to your doctor, the communication piece about
Right.
side effects, why you're taking the medication, meeting with your pharmacist as well, who typically do an excellent job of educating you for the medications you take. If you're starting to take over-the-counter medications or other supplements, let your doctor know. Don't treat yourself if you have further instances of health issues and saving medications, securing your medications. That's pretty much it.
I have something that we haven't talked about.
What?
So you're talking about over-the-counter. Well, over-the-counter also includes herbal. So you referred to supplements and over-the-counter, but I'd like to specifically use the word herbs, herbal. There could be a contraindication between that and the prescription.
Sure.
So with herbs, always ask.
It's true. Saw palmetto, St. John's wort, I think valerian root, let's see what else. I think peppermint. Those are the main ones that can have adverse effects with different types of medications that you take. So typically your pharmacist will know and you'll have a printout of different herbs to not take with that specific medication. Obviously ask your pharmacist if it's okay to continue taking that. But that's true, just because it's herbal doesn't mean it's not safe to take with everything else.
Right, and I was sitting here realizing that I had a little funny story. I had taken St. John's wort a number of years ago. All of a sudden, I had developed like this horrible seasonal allergy issue. Well, St. John's wort is coneflower. I'm allergic to coneflower. So here I was taking an herb, and the St. John's wort,
Right.
and I was creating my own side effect.
Right.
There you go.
There you go.
But it was over the counter, so I didn't have to call the doctor. It was a process of elimination, and when I took a look at, got the magnifying glass out and took a look at what St. John's wort was, I'm like, well, there you go.
And so thankfully you had that cognitive capacity to problem solve.
Yeah, it took me 2 weeks of it, so I don't know.
Doesn't necessarily mean if you still have that reaction and you don't know why, call your doctor, let them know that you just started taking XYZ,
Yeah.
this is the experience you're having, and then decisions can be made from there. And that just gets to another point about herbal medications and supplements sometimes in general. We never really know what's in those products that can have an adverse effect.
Right. And along with using the medication safely, it's the disposing of the medications safely. That's going to be coming up in the month of November. I don't actually have the date with me right now, and we'll make sure that you get that information.
Right, and there's a kiosk at the police department as well,
Right, yeah.
on the Pleasant Street side, where you can take your unwanted expired medications and just dump it in a safe, secure spot. Just be mindful that they do not take any liquid medications, lotions, ointments, or sharps, or anything like that. It's strictly just basically pill medications.
Okay.
It can be over the counter, it could be prescription. And yes, be mindful of the community collection days where on Grove Street at the DPW yard, we'll collect your unwanted medications as well.
Right. Now, Mark, we're talking about medications that are given. There are some medications out there that you can reduce with time or eliminate entirely. This is a discussion between a doctor and perhaps a nutritionist or an exercise class that you might be able to reduce taking them, depending on the situation. Blood pressure, for example. You might be able to reduce or eliminate, may be able to reduce it by increasing exercise. Certainly with type 2 diabetics, you can reduce your medication through nutrition and exercise. All of this is may. This is a conversation, again, between your doctor. I'm not one. Those are just a couple of things that I'm thinking of. It's making lifestyle changes. Some may even say if you become a vegetarian or a vegan, that you can, well, there are studies, you can lower your blood pressure, you can lower your cholesterol, you can do all of these other things by a change of lifestyle. But that is not a discussion that you have amongst your friends. That's a discussion that you have between your physician, nurse practitioner, or a nutritionist if you're able to be there.
So key point is if you don't want to take the average of 9 medications and you want to reduce that number by different lifestyle changes, there are opportunities to do that.
Well, great.
Right.
Well, I know more than when we started. I want to say thank you very much. I
Thank
think you covered the topics pretty thoroughly. Today we've had an opportunity of having some guests in the audience, and that was the clapping that you heard earlier. They're free to clap to say thank you very much for having this time. Thank you. So Mark, I want to say thanks again. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.